All right. George?
Yes.
All right, here we go. So, again, just to give you the background with the class, just need to have a quick conversation about what you think about teacher burnout compared to demoralized, and then just get your opinions on those few topics, and then just go from there.
Okay.
So, how long have you been teaching?
I keep losing count, but I think I'm like at 5 now.
All right. Pretty, it goes by pretty quick, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Super quick, man. Blink of an eye.
How would you describe your teaching experience thus far?
It's been eye-opening. I think we've talked about this before too. How when I first started, I went into teaching thinking it was going to be there's going to be something different, something more along the lines of when we were back in school. But I learned really quick that there was a lot more that went into it. As you know, I went into teaching kind of a non-traditional route with my 1029. So you could say I jumped head first into it. So the first year it was a lot about just learning the ropes. Luckily, I had a really good mentor that was able to help me out and provide me with the support and resources and just kind of somebody to talk to and bounce ideas off, and get guidance from. So thank you, Jose. But I think little by little I started getting more comfortable, even just learning the lingo, and just being able to see how people do things differently. Kind of seeing what's there, and now being able to kind of start, I guess, having my own style or my own way of teaching that I think is more effective, and just having the confidence to make decisions, I think.
See, and that's what I was going to ask next. Like, do you think, so would you say that you feel more confident now than you did when you first started?
Definitely. I think even, since I've been taking classes and everything, I've been able to get the theoretical side of things and to kind of see the reason behind why I do what I do, or the purpose behind it, or how it is that it promotes learning, or how one strategy works better than the other. And now that I've been able to get everything that I've been doing wrong kind of out of the way, right? Now it's like, okay, I know why it's wrong or why it doesn't work or why it hasn't been effective, and I'm able to focus on what's being effective, and you see the results, so you start feeling more and more like a teacher every day.
Yeah, that's good. What's the most exciting thing that you like about teaching?
I think even like the first time that I, stepped in front of the class, like I was intimidated and I was kind of, I don't know, I didn't feel, I felt the, I guess the pressure or the weight of the profession, just because you have in your hands, students' future, you know what I mean? What you teach them in that class is going to impact them for the rest of their lives, and they're going to take that experience, it's going to shape them. So I think, just stepping in front and like having that weight on you, you like kind of intimidated by it. But I think the thing that I like the most is the fact that you can open up those doors, for students or help them see the door and have them open or whatever the case may be. But you're in some ways you're helping them shape the future. You're having that impact. So to me, that's the most exciting thing, to say that these people that we're teaching, our students, they're going to end up being the future. And what we want to do, I think, is everybody wants is to create a better world. And these are the foot soldiers that are going to do that, and we have a direct impact on that. The way we teach and the experience we're able to provide for them. So.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree with that. And I think for me that I teach seniors, I think you kind of get that feel more, like, and you get those reminders from your students. Because even when I have them as sophomores, sometimes you don't have those conversations because to them, graduation is still, 2 years away. But then as seniors, they kind of reflect, and it's like, holy cow, like, thanks, mister, like, I've learned so much, or, thank you for being a good teacher. Just like the experience and the relationship that you build, I think you get to see it more when you teach those higher level classes. And I think that's one of the things that I like, or reasons why I like teaching seniors, is because you get to see them go off.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
What's the? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I was just gonna say I was, I coach as well, so I got a few emails from some of my players that are leaving this year.
Yeah.
And just some of the words that they shared with me, kind of puts things in perspective for you. Like, you don't know sometimes, like, if what you're doing is working, or what you do, or why you do what you do. You lose sight of it.
Right.
When you get those, those emails, or you get those messages, it's like, it's reassuring, I guess, to say the least. So,
no, for sure. For sure.
Those are the good things.
What's the biggest challenge of teaching?
I would say following the rules, man. Yeah, I think that's been my biggest challenge, is really, because there's all these different strategies that they want you to apply, and it's like it can get confusing, especially like as a new teacher, and like you don't know if what you're doing is right, so you're taking what's being presented to you and say, hey, this is the way you're supposed to teach, or this is what we want you to do when you teach, and you get why it's important to stuff, but it's just following those procedures sometimes seems a little robotic, and it doesn't seem natural to me.
Yeah.
And every class is different. Every group of students that you get is different, and the same dynamic. You can't apply the same dynamic to every classroom, But then you're fearful that when an administrator walks in, you're not doing exactly what they asked you to do. So you're like, holy crap, what am I going to do now? And I don't think that's beneficial for the students either, to be kind of programmed that way, to say, hey, this is the routine you need to follow. I know some students really thrive off of that. They need that structure, they need that routine. But I feel like for the most part, as a teacher, it's like you have to read the room and kind of see what works for them and what doesn't. And sometimes what you do might not be conducive to exactly like the deep thinking or the analyzing that they want them to do, but you are kind of opening up the door for them to be able to do that at a later time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so this year, I think one of the things that I liked was one of the last meetings we had where they were starting to talk about depth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And kind of going at the issue at different angles to try to get that depth of knowledge, which is something that I think, at least in my teaching philosophy, that I want to implement, to have students really, understand or reach that, be able to make those deeper connections, but it's not as clear cut as sometimes the I don't know who to blame this on, the administrators or whatever, that they kind of, that top down approach. I don't think it's effective. I think
so
teachers need more autonomy,
And that's what I was gonna say. Like it sounds to me like what you're saying is that there's really not a lot of teacher autonomy to make, I don't know, a lot of the decisions within the classroom. And how do you feel about that, like with less teacher autonomy?
Well, I think we have the illusion of teacher autonomy, right? Like nobody's really like telling you like that what you're doing is wrong, or that you shouldn't be doing it, or this and that. But indirectly, I think by the suggestions that they're making, that they want you to teach a certain way, that's kind of taking the teacher autonomy away. And I think some, I don't know, man. Like this is something that I've been grappling with. Like I don't know, coming from working in the factories and the private sector, whatever you want to call it, you always have this manager that's overlooking your work, making sure you're staying working and doing your job. And I don't want to take this into the education field. I don't like taking this mentality in there. I want to think that the people that are our division chairs are there to help us become better teachers. But I don't know if it always feels that way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I would like to have that relationship with my division chair, with administrators in general. At the end of the day, what's most important is that the students are learning. but at the same time, you don't want to get fired. You want to keep your job. So, it's like, I don't know. I think that communication piece is what's missing, and I don't know if it's just the case for me or if other teachers feel this way. I don't know if it's something universal that's happening across the country, or if it's just in our school, or if it's just me. But,
no, that's something that's just universal. Like universal. Like one of the things with teaching, I mean, I think as you get more experience, and I also see this in other teachers, that I think the more experience that you get, you're able to juggle that a little better. You're able to identify, where you're going, and then you're able to adjust like how to get there, and with you making some of those changes that you think are needed within your classroom, and still getting, done what administration wants you to get done. And I don't know, the way I look at it is, with time and everything is settled and you get a hang of the curriculum and everything, then that's kind of where you start to little by little, like, because I mean, I see that even now with some teachers that that's what they do. It's like, all right, where are we going? All right, well, we'll get there. And they might take a detour along the way, and they get it done. So one of the big things that I saw or mentioned in one of the articles is how teachers tend to live at a high rate. Why do you think teachers leave this profession?
Well, my initial response, right, before reading the article, was that their heart's not into it,
Okay.
But I thought that was being unfair, especially after reading the article, because, you think about all the work that goes into it.
Yeah.
And, you go in with, this, even, I'm thinking back to when I first went in, had this idea of making all this impact and changes and, just hitting a wall. Bam!
Yeah.
That's gonna happen, man. You know what I mean? It doesn't work that way, man,
Yeah.
So I think that could be a part of it, where I think teachers reach a point of frustration where they're putting all the work in, but they're not getting the results that they were expecting, So I think to some degree they're disillusioned, and some teachers might realize that this is not what they wanted to do. It's not the field they wanted to be in. But then also on the other part, are they being given a chance to succeed? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're getting the private model education more and more, where it's starting to be run like a business. And going back to what we talked about, the teacher autonomy and all that, I think it's sucking the fun out of it, the joy out of it. So I think that's part of the reason why I think teachers are also leaving, that it's just not what they were expecting.
Yeah.
They had envisioned.
No, for sure. Like, I don't know if I told you this story where I think there was a long-term sub, and I think this was for Nash when she had a surgery. And it was an older lady. She, had her science degree, and I think she was working in the either private sector, good job, everything. And then she took the job, and then after a while, maybe a week or so, she was just like, oh my God, like this is hard. It's like this is not what I expected, just the planning, dealing with kids, the behaviors, like making sure that they're working when they don't work. So I think a lot of the time there's that big misconception about the job that, oh, you only work nine months. You got, holidays off. You got summers off. Like, you're telling me you can't do the job? And it's like, well, what people don't see is the amount of work. You don't have a lot of autonomy. And so the emphasis on, like, the standardized tests. And I don't think teachers or people see that. And so then this lady, next thing you know, I think after 2 weeks, she resigned the position because she's like, oh my God, I just can't do this. It's like I have so much appreciation for what you guys do now, because I see it, and then I don't know how you guys do it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a lot of it.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I expected, man. So I can relate.
So, so when did you first hear, or have you heard with the phrase teacher burnout?
So I don't know about the word, or like the combination of the words teacher burnout, but like
or
burnout,
just burnout, like, hey.
Yeah. I don't really know exactly when that was, but I imagine a lot of people get burned out. You know what I mean? Like they work. I was thinking more of like, for example, when I worked back at Caterpillar, there was days that, weeks that I would work, every day of the week and not take a day off, and this was like back to back. So eventually I got to the point where it's like I got to take a day off for myself, because I spend more time in the factory than I do at home or with my family or whatever else I had going on. So I think that's my first experience with burnout. But initially when I don't know if this is a question for later, but well, actually I think it's the next question where it says
have you experienced or the difference?
Yeah, the difference.
Okay. No, yeah, go ahead.
Between between burnout and demoralization. Burnout was something that I thought you could come back from. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Whereas
Okay.
opposed is the opposite. Where they're saying demoralization, or I don't know. How does that work out? Explain it to me a little bit better, man, because I'm
yeah. So, all right, with so on your typical days, like say that you're working, right? We're in charge of like entering grades, keeping track of parties, lesson plans. Remember when you have to, turn in lesson plans.
Yeah.
Grade papers, have to go to a meeting, have to go to a training, and then on top of that, you might have to go to the dentist with your kid or something. And so it's like you have all these things, data entry going on, and you just kind of feel like at a loss, exhausted, tired. You're really not, I guess, mentally in the work and everything. And so, like, usually for me, like when I first, to me, all that stuff, it was just being burnt out. Ever since I started, teachers would say, "Oh, I'm burned out. I'm burned out." Like, and to me, that meant just like, "Oh, we're being overworked, and you just need some time to relax, and then regenerate and go at it again." But according, at least to me, what the author is trying to say is that is not burnt out. Like, that is demoralized. You kind of lose hope, and you might say, well, administration needs to do something, because why are we keeping track of tardies? Why are we doing this? Isn't there a more efficient way? And so you get demoralized. You kind of lose those rewards for teaching. And then that leads to burnt out. Like, burnt out, like, you're done teaching. Like, you want to go look for another job because you can't keep doing this. And you kind of wonder, like, you know what? This is not for me. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
And so, go ahead.
Like, so for me, like, recently with this pandemic and everything, like, I've been able to actually slow down,
Yeah.
Like, I was on this, like, on the go, always, like, non-stop, no breaks, having to, well, teach, coach, and take classes. On top of that, family responsibilities and all that jazz, right?
Yeah.
So at one point during, this time that we've been away from the classroom, like, I was like, how was I doing it? How are we doing it? I told my wife, how are we doing this? Like, waking up, 5 in the morning, sometimes 4:30 in the morning, just to get our day going, and just running at full speed from that time to the time we hit the bed. We come home, we have enough time to make dinner, or even not even sometimes not even make dinner. We have time to eat, and then if kids do a little bit of homework, time to get ready for bed and go to sleep. And that's it. Like that was the day, coming home from work or whatever, getting home at 6 o'clock. And so, yeah, I mean, there's not enough time in the day. You almost felt like, and everything was kind of sometimes at some point things were being done half done and coming back to them. And I mean, I could see where that burnout. I think I was experiencing some of that burnout, but I was always looking forward to brighter ahead today, ahead. I was like, it's gonna get better. It's gonna get better. We're almost there.
And so,
now that we've gotten this pause, it's like, it's giving me time to reflect, and now I have enough time for everything. It feels good.
It feels good to kind of refresh.
Yeah, if I could have this the whole year round, that'd be great. I know it's gonna be short-lived as soon as the class, as soon as we get back in that classroom, things are gonna pick up again. And I just figure I just take it as part of the situation I find myself in right now. I think once I get certification, everything out of the way, I'll be able to kind of have a little bit more peace and focus more, on mastering the craft and that thing.
So then,
I think it's a real thing.
Yeah. So two things on that. See, so based on what the author was arguing is that would have been, that feeling like you said, oh, I was just on the go. You would be experiencing more of demoralization than burnt out because, like you said, if we could have this right now, just relax everything, like I would be good. And I think that's with demoralization, where she argues that we tend to maybe use the term, I don't want to say incorrectly, because they're linked together, but it's a small difference where, but when you get to burnt out, it's like you need another career. You need to go find something else because you've given everything that you had, right? And then it's like you're the issue, you're the problem, where we both know that's not the case. And so then I think, like similar to me, like when we get a break, we kind of re-energize, and then like we're ready to go at it again. And so I think we experience more demoralization on a more consistent basis rather than burnt out. Now, maybe 20 years from now, that could change. But up to this point, I would argue that I think we would suffer more from demoralization than burnt out. Then last thing, what do you think? So if we keep in mind, so when we talk about demoralization, right, just all the added duties that we have to do, like entering tardies, referrals, grading, just test scores, everything. So that usually is what tends to get teachers down and lose their, I guess, fire for teaching. What do you think can be done to try and alleviate that feeling, to kind of motivate teachers and keep like a better balanced life for them?
That was my question for you, man. What can we do? No, honestly, I don't.
So here, let me pose it in a different way. Let me pose it for a different way. So up to this point, like, think first semester. In your daily routine, when you get from the morning from the time that you get to school until the end of the day, what would make your time as a teacher, or what could help you make your time as a teacher like be more effective, be a better teacher, and not really feel like you're being overwhelmed?
Well, I don't know. So I think a lot of the pressure that I have is also um, self-imposed to some degree, if I'm being honest,
Yeah.
because I'm doing so many different things, you know.
Yeah.
So I think if I was to just focus solely on teaching, right,
Yeah.
and I take the same amount of time I use for teaching, for coaching, and schoolwork, then I think um, that would be enough time for me to get everything out of the way or take care of all my responsibilities of being a teacher. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because I have the coaching on top of that, those are added responsibilities. So what I end up having is not enough time in a day to do everything. So I almost feel like I'm overstretched, you know?
So then, would you agree having even during the day have less I'm gonna say duties, but like less tasks that took away time from your
Yeah,
actual teaching job?
I think so. But I mean, even then, I mean, we could look at it a different way, right? We teach what 5 classes
Yeah.
normally.
Mhm.
We have 30 students per class, right?
Yep.
At least in some cases. That's a lot of assignments you need to grade in a day. You know, it's a lot of
Mhm.
feedback you got to give to students in a day. You know, I don't think there's going to be, I don't think the quality is going to be as good if you have like that many students as opposed to having, you know, like let's say my wife is a pre-K teacher, 2 classes of 20 some students. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I see her with her classes, and she's having parent communications on a daily basis, sending them pictures of what their kids are doing. They're both monitoring their growth. And I don't know if it's because they're at that age, but what's to say we can't have something similar to that at the high school level, or continue that throughout the whole, you know, educational process K through 12, where you know teachers have less of a load and are able to focus more on a one-on-one basis with students. You know what I mean? I think
Right.
that's very possible. That's very feasible for me. It's something that we could do. But because we have so many students, right? It's kind of hard to be like very, I guess, focused on what the student really needs to grow. You know, or we lose sight of it at some point where it's like it's almost like a industrial system. You know, get them in,
Yeah.
get them out, get them in. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's not the way it should be. I think that's not what teaching should be.
Correct.
Um, so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that would be part of my solution. Maybe lessen the load as far as students go. Do we need to document everything in PLP or for legal reasons? Yes, you know. But I mean, if I call a parent and I say, hey, you know, he didn't really put in his best effort today, you know. Maybe you want to check in on him and see how he's doing. Do I have to enter that into PLP? I don't think so. You know, not every single time. You know, it's like
Yeah.
that takes away time. You know, so
Right.
little things like that. You know.
No, I agree. I think for me that's what I would go with as far as diminishing those little tasks that might take like what 15, 20, 15, or 25 minutes, but when you add them up over the course of a week, it's like hours.
Yeah, I know.
So like the tardies, keeping track of the tardies, writing the referrals for the tardies. I mean, if we have a system that can sum up how many tardies a student has, why can't we don't we have a system that can automatically, hey, here's a referral for 5 tardies, for 10 tardies, and so on. And so even with the meetings when we have them on, on like the department and staff meetings,
Yeah.
same thing. If they could be more efficient, because some of the stuff and the information that is presented could easily be sent on a PowerPoint, on an email, and we can use that time, whether it's to finish grading, to make those parent contacts, as opposed to just sitting there, and feeling like, hey, well, there was an hour and, in 20 minutes I'm never going to get back or that I just lost. So, but just to finish, when teachers start to feel, that burnout, that demoralization in the classroom, and then that's kind of an issue. And then the reason I took this class was to figure out, like, all right, well, how can I avoid that? Because, again, I'm there early, late, like you coaching and like yourself, you have a lot of things going on, and there comes a point where, sometimes you just kind of feel deflated, and maybe you don't want to show up the next day. And so to me, it was like, well, how can I improve that? And so some of the things that this class kind of came up with as far as, things you can do is, what is it? One thing, exercise. Making sure that you're integrating exercise somehow, some way, even if it's like walking, can be a small step. Along with exercising, eating well. Just the small things that you eat, making healthy choices that can, the food that can provide energy for you throughout the day, as opposed to relying on the, junk food and what have you. Making priority lists. Just making a list of the things that you have to get done, but then making sure to eliminate the items that you don't need to be done like that moment, but just, focusing in on those main activities that you need to get done for a given day. Hobbies. Find a hobby. Get away from work. Do something outside of work that takes your mind off work, that you don't have to think about work. And then the last one I thought was pretty good was making sure that you leave your work at work. Try not to take anything home. Sometimes it's easier said than done. Easier said than done. But because I know one thing that I came across is like having those Sunday blues. I don't know when you get your stuff done. So like for me, Sundays I don't do anything unless it's an emergency that I have to get it done. But like avoiding to work on Sunday kind of gives you that extra day of like just relaxing, and you don't have to sit there and kind of dread like, oh man, here we go. Next day I got to go to work, and so you kind of avoid that. So.
Yeah. So going back to this time that we're spending right now with being away from the classroom, through remote learning and everything has given us, a little bit more time than we normally do have,
Not for sure.
And I've been able to do a lot of that stuff that you're talking about, man, and I feel like part of it is it was just the lifestyle of always being on the go. You're not always going to eat the healthiest. You wake up at 5 in the morning, the first thing that's going to go down is the coffee,
Yep.
And it's going to take you 2 cups, for you to wake up and get going after a while. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And now I'm down to one optional cup of coffee a day. That's if I want to have it. I can have 1 cup of coffee. And I started exercising, man. You know what I mean? Started exercising. My sleep schedule is off. I mean, I'm going to sleep past midnight every day, right? I don't know why, but it's just how it's happening right now. And I'm working out at 11 o'clock at night, going for a run on the treadmill, doing light exercise here and there, but it feels good. And that's motivating me to want to eat healthy and start taking the time to actually research and seeing what things I could eat that, maybe in the morning instead of a coffee, what can I have that give me that energy, or, switching the routine up a little bit. But I think it was a lifestyle of just being on the go that didn't allow for me to even take the time to get on the computer and look, because I feel like I'd be wasting time doing that when I could be doing something more productive, like grading papers or reaching out or, et cetera. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. I think we get caught up in that. And so, and I think the overall thing is just, trying to, implement a couple of things that work within the schedule to try to declutter the work life and create that balance between life and work. So, but that's all. Thanks again, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch through all this, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem, bro. glad I was able to help, man. And thank you for helping me out with
Yeah.
the assignment that I had.
Yeah, for sure, man. So, talk to you.
All right, bro. Take care.
All right, later.